Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for being here. Today I'm doing a little Q&A. So I recently hit 50,000 subscribers and now I am over 60,000. Thank you so much for being here. And I realized that you guys don't know a lot about me, except that I love to talk about amazing singers and I talk about the chest voice a lot. So I asked on my community tab if you had any questions and I got some really fun ones. So this is gonna be great. I'm gonna start with the questions I got the most often. Rapid fire. Favorite color? Pink. Age? 27. Married. Yes, I am married and I have been married for 6.5 years. My husband's name is Taylor. I am a Libra. My favorite food, I am sweets all the way. Probably my favorite food of all time is mangoes. And mangoes are only ripe in Utah for maybe like 3 weeks out of the year. And they're ripe right now. So I'm basically eating like 5 a day. I'm not joking. It is my favorite food. My hair. Oh, guys, are you sitting down for this? I'm really sorry to break it to you. I'm not a natural redhead. This is dye all the way. But I feel like a redhead at heart, so I hope that makes you guys feel better. I live in Utah and I am 5'8". Everybody wanted to know how tall I am. There you go. I'm 5'8". Is YouTube full-time or do you have another job outside of YouTube? YouTube is definitely a full-time job in how much time it takes. Does it pay like a full-time job? No. And on top of YouTube, I still teach privately. That has always been my job. And I'm also a mom. So I definitely have my plate full. But I would consider YouTube a full-time job at this point. I post 3 videos a week. In addition to that, like filming for TikTok and my social media presence and everything. It's a lot, but it's very, very fun. What is your favorite thing about being a vocal coach? Oh, this is a great question. My favorite thing is when I am able to see my student have a light bulb moment. When I see it on their face or the sound that comes out of their mouth is what we've been aiming for and they have that successful moment. That's just the best feeling in the world. Me being able to celebrate them and cheer them on, that's my favorite part. The first time you hit a high note properly on stage. Wow, this is a very specific question, but I have an answer for this. 5 years ago, actually longer, 5.5 years ago, I was in Shrek the Musical and I played Fiona. And during this time was when I was starting to dip my toe into becoming a voice teacher. I had been taking voice lessons in the technique that I teach, which is the Institute for Vocal Advancement, or IVA. I'd been taking voice lessons with this technique for a while and I was in love with the way that it made my voice feel and sound. And so when I was Fiona, there was a moment in the reprise of I Know It's Today after she gets rescued from the tower. I sing Today, a C5. And I had a moment of clarity on stage. I sang that note and I just remember feeling like, wow, every time I sing that note, I know what it's gonna sound like. And it was the first time in my voice that I had true consistency and it was an incredible feeling. I loved it. What are your biggest tips for singers when learning how to sing? So I would say the first thing is start getting to know your voice. We use our voice all the time and it's just second nature. We don't even think about what's going on. So the first thing is really understanding what these sensations feel like. So what does your chest voice feel like to you and your head voice and your mix? What do these things feel like? And making sure that it should always feel really good. Do you find that you're singing with tension and you're just used to it? Really, really be aware. And then always start with your chest voice, making sure that it's balanced and it feels and sounds like your speaking voice. Have you ever thought about going on Broadway? I wanted to be on Broadway when I was a kid, but I think my intentions were not right. My heart wasn't in it. In my mind, when I was younger, my voice was my whole identity. Maybe some of you relate to this. It was my whole life. And because I was the singer, I felt like I had to succeed. I had to go to the top because I felt that pressure. And it was totally internalized. It was just my own pressure that I was putting on myself. But it wasn't until I got out of high school that I realized that's actually not what I want to do. That's not my goal. I love teaching and I love being behind the scenes. I've music directed some shows and I never expected to find so much fulfillment sitting in the audience and watching a show come together that I helped create and seeing my cast succeeding. Again, I love that. I love cheering on my students. If Broadway called me and was like, hey, come be on Broadway for 6 weeks, sure. Yeah, I'd consider it. But it's not on my radar. Teaching is my main focus and my main passion. You have inspired so many people to start singing. Who inspires you? This is so sweet. My students inspire me. Is that so sappy? My students inspire me because there is something so incredible about someone walking into my studio scared out of their mind, and they're there and they're doing the brave thing because they've always wanted to learn how to sing. There is something incredibly powerful about that. And it inspires me to do the scary things, to post the cover that I was so scared to post. That is why I did it. Because if I'm going to push my students and my followers to use their voice, put themselves out there, be brave, I need to do the same thing. What was your most challenging vocal hurdle in your vocal journey? Unless you came out of the womb as a well-refined and experienced singer, which honestly I wouldn't doubt. My biggest vocal hurdle was finding consistency in my voice. So I considered myself a big belter when I was in high school, and I pretty much just yelled. I was really shouty. I didn't have control over my belt, and it wasn't consistent. So I would just belt and hope for the best. Cross my fingers and hope that I could hit the note. But I never knew what was going to come out of my mouth. So getting to know my voice and learning the ins and outs of my voice, that helped me find control and consistency, and lots of practice with healthy technique. Shouting is not healthy technique. If you had to cast and star in a musical, what musical would you do? Who would you be in that musical, and who would you cast in the musical? Okay, you guys are not gonna be shocked by this. I would be in Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. I would be the narrator, and Jeremy Jordan would be Joseph. That would be it. That'd be amazing. Why did you want to become a voice teacher, and what made you want to start YouTube? So these are two different questions. When I was in college, I was changing my major all the time. I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I was an elementary education major for a hot second, like half a semester. But I knew I wanted to teach. I loved helping people, but that wasn't right. That school setting wasn't right for me. And it wasn't until I started taking from my friend and first teacher in IVA, Megan Yates, it never occurred to me that you could teach voice privately full time. It never occurred to me that that was a possibility. And so taking from her, I realized, wait, this is what I want to do. I love this. And I never looked back. That was exactly what I needed to do. And it was the biggest light bulb moment in my life. And what made me want to start YouTube is I wanted to start YouTube for years. I wanted to get on YouTube for so long. And guys, I was so scared. I put all of these limiting beliefs on myself that I wouldn't be good enough, people wouldn't like me, and I wasn't charismatic enough or anything. I just kept putting myself down. And I finally realized that I needed to be brave and I needed to do the scary thing. But the ultimate reason that I got on YouTube is that I wanted to be a part of the conversation. I saw some videos on YouTube of what I believe to be damaging technique, and I felt really strongly like I need to be a part of this conversation. I want to inspire people to sing in a healthy way and also enjoy singing again. That was really important, that I had a strong why, and that has continued throughout this journey. I want to be here to have a bigger reach, that I can teach lots of people at the same time, more than I could ever teach in a private lesson setting. I would never be able to teach thousands and thousands and thousands of people, but on YouTube I can, and that's really great. Do you have any other passions besides singing? I'm really passionate about working out. I work out a lot. I go to Orange Theory classes, and it's my favorite thing in the entire world. That's a big part of my life. But I would say my biggest passion, very much connected to my studio, is finding enjoyment in singing. So I am so passionate about helping heal people's vocal journey. So many people DM me and tell me about old discouraging teachers that like broke their spirit, or loved ones that told them that they were not good at singing. These vocal stories that people are telling me are truly heartbreaking. Like, people are really hurting, and that is why I'm so passionate. I truly believe that my first rule as a voice teacher is first do no harm. And not only do I mean first do no harm in a vocal technique way, I don't want to hurt your voice, but just as importantly, I don't want to squash anyone's spirit or passion for singing. And the fact that teachers do that frequently really, it boils my blood. I get so mad, and I am heartbroken over my students who tell me these stories. So that is what I'm passionate about. I am passionate about helping students and singers around the world heal their relationship with their voice. Sorry, that's related to singing. What should I know about taking voice lessons before I go in? What's the best way to practice in between lessons? These are great questions. Before you go in for your first lesson, everybody formats their lessons differently, but I'll tell you how I format my lessons. I want to get a vocal history. So I'm going to ask you, what have you done? Have you ever had any vocal health problems like nodes or polyps or anything like that? Have you ever done any performing like musical theater? Have you ever taken voice lessons before? I want to get a comprehensive history of you and your voice. And then I take a student through some exercises so that I can get to know your voice inside and out. So we'll go through some exercises. We're going to talk about what's going on. We might sing a song. I really want to hear my students in their first lesson sing something. Doesn't have to be perfect, but just to hear you on a song. And then at the end, we'll wrap up and we'll talk about what to practice. And the best way to practice singing is a little bit different than practicing another instrument. So because our voices are a part of our body, we can't be as harsh or as long when we're practicing as maybe if I'm practicing piano. If I'm practicing piano and I'm working on a piece and one measure is really, really tripping me up, I can work on that measure for hours until I get it right. Our voice does not work like that. Our voice works on muscle memory, and we have to focus on when we get it right and not on when we get it wrong. So we have to rewire our brain on how we think about practicing. So the best way to practice is 10 to 20 minutes every single day. That's not very much, is it? But we're working on muscle memory and we're looking for vocal balance. So if one particular exercise is not working for you and you're getting frustrated, throw it away. You do not need that exercise today. But if there's an exercise that you're feeling amazing on and you're feeling that connection and you're feeling that mix and that healthy vocal balance, do that exercise over and over and over again. Experience what that feels like, memorize what that feels like. And not only is this the fastest way to improve your voice, but it also is an absolute Jedi mind trick. You're going to feel so much happier about practicing because you're focusing on the positive and not on the negative. Which Disney princess are you the most like? I would be so interested if you guys could comment below and tell me what Disney princess you think I'm the most like. But I would have to say that I relate the most to Tiana. Tiana is a go-getter. She works hard. She goes after her dreams and she gets done. And that's how I feel. I also feel very similar to Belle in some of her qualities of being kind, and she's an intellectual. She likes reading, which I also love reading. But I would say my number one is definitely Tiana. I've noticed that you put a lot of emphasis on the way singers pronounce their vowels. Do you think it would be more difficult for you to judge someone who sings in a different language in which some sounds are different? No. So I go by the phonetic alphabet. Every language has these vowels in certain ways. There are some vowels in different languages that are more difficult. What I'm trying to do when I change a vowel is I'm trying to get a different sound out of that singer. So we're modifying the vowel so that our voice does something different and we get more into balance. I could do that with someone from any different language as long as my student could speak English. It doesn't matter the vowels. And if there's a vowel that my student is having a really hard time with, we're going to try something else. We're not going to focus on what doesn't work. Now that you're a vocal coach, do you find it hard to enjoy a performance without overthinking and critiquing it? No. I do think that there's a part of my brain that doesn't turn off, but I don't overthink or criticize any voice. To me, voices are just black and white. They're just there. There's no emotional attachment when I'm listening to a voice. So I would never, oh, that's so bad. That's a bad voice. Never. What I might be listening for, what thoughts might be coming into my brain is, oh, that's a little bit light in the chest voice. Or I might be noticing a couple things, but I still enjoy voices of all sounds and colors. I think vocal diversity is very interesting and I love hearing new voices. Was singing always your dream job? Did you have doubts about going into this field? If so, how did you overcome some of those doubts? So singing has always been a big part of my life. I love that now I get to use my voice in a way I never expected. I get to put covers on YouTube and covers on TikTok. It's really, really fun. But my dream job is teaching. And I did have some doubts at the beginning. When you're a brand new teacher, there's a lot of imposter syndrome, and I still struggle with that, where your brain is like, you actually don't know what you're talking about. Why are you teaching? You suck, right? Overcoming that was really important. The best thing I did when I was a beginner teacher was teach. And it feels really scary for those of my teachers out there. The best thing you can do is just start teaching. And if you're worried, if you're thinking like, well, I'm not good enough to teach yet, start teaching kids, lower your prices, teach some free lessons to some of your friends and family. Just get teaching. That's the fastest way that you'll get better. And that is something that I'm really glad that I did because it gave me more confidence. What is something you've discovered about yourself during quarantine? Oh man, that I can't sit still. It wasn't until quarantine started that I was like, I'm gonna start my YouTube channel. And here I am. Like, what a crazy thing to decide to do during such a stressful time. But I'm so glad I did. I can't sit still. I always have to be doing something. And this isn't exactly the best quality. Like, I definitely need to slow down sometimes, a lot of the time. But it is also a quality in myself that I am proud of. I think there's good and bad sides to it, but I am proud that I am a person that when I see something that I want, I go after it. What are your dream roles? Number 1, narrator in Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. Definitely Alice in Bright Star. That would be an ultimate dream role. Kathy in The Last 5 Years. And I think there's some other roles that I would love to play, but I would say that if I could play those 3 in my life would be complete. Those are my absolute favorite roles. If you weren't a vocal coach, what job would you have? Okay, so I'm gonna answer this question in 2 parts. My fantasy and then my real answer. My fantasy is that I have always wanted to be a CEO of a company. Like, I show up to work in power suits. I've got an assistant who has my iced coffee ready every day. And I'm approachable, but also like a hard ass, and I get shit done. And this has always been my dream. And I think that it stems from like rom-coms or like Hallmark movies. I always thought that I would be like a career woman. And there's just something about power suits. I don't know. I just love power suits. I need to get one. But my real answer would be that I would probably be an author. When I was in junior high and high school, I was a big writer. I wrote short stories, always dreamed about writing a book, and I always thought that I would be a writer. And I did start writing a book a few years ago. It's not finished, but I do want to finish it one day. That's actually a big passion of mine, is writing and reading. Okay, guys, this will be my last question. Do you have any stories of onstage mistakes while performing? Yes, I do. Okay, so I was in Shrek a million years ago, and during Morning Person, Fiona sings to this bird, and the bird explodes, and it's very funny. And if you haven't seen Shrek the Musical, watch it on Netflix. Sutton Foster is a queen. It's amazing. So in our production, the bird was actually a blue balloon that was covered in feathers. And there was like a mechanical like needle, and they would press a button and the needle would pop it and feathers would go everywhere. And it was very, very funny. The audience loved it every night. So I'm holding this really high note, waiting for the bird to explode, but the needle wasn't popping it. I don't know what happened. So the balloon got bigger and bigger and bigger until it was probably the size of a beach ball. I don't know where they got these like extra strength balloons. It was so big, and I'm holding this note. It's so high. I'm running out of air. I have no idea what's going on. The audience starts laughing, and finally the balloon just explodes. So the needle never worked. It just exploded, and then it popped, and I was so surprised when it popped because it didn't pop on cue that I kind of squealed and then started laughing, and everybody in the audience was laughing so hard. I'm so glad that it was funny, and I turned around and I started singing, "Good morning, dear, say have you heard?" Oh gosh, it was so hilarious. And that mechanical contraption didn't work like most of the time. I think they probably should have redone that, but it was really funny when the feathers went everywhere. I just want to say to all of my subscribers, thank you so much for being here. Thanks for being a supporter. Thanks for wanting to get to know me. Thank you for sharing your stories and your voices with me. I feel super sappy right now. I never expected my channel to become what it is, and I'm just really grateful for every single one of you. I got a DM congratulating me on 60,000. I feel like it's really important for me to say it on camera. I hope that I never forget that my subscriber count is not just a number, but it's humans. Every single number is a person that chose to subscribe to me. And that's a lot of people, and that freaks me out, honestly. But I'm just so glad you're here. So thanks for being here. And if you have any suggestions of people I should be reacting to or questions that I didn't answer, please drop them below. And until next time, I'm Hannah. I'm your voice teacher, and now you're all my students. Please like and subscribe, ring the bell for notifications, follow me on Instagram and TikTok, and I'll see you next time. Before you go in for your foist? Okay, I'm gonna answer this question in two parts.